Bonjour.
Welcome to Gotham.
Cenobites.
Do you know what nemesis means?
Be my victim. Be my victim.
Amateurs. But still, we will afford them an experience beyond the limits in your name.
Live or die. Make your choice.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. You've clicked on Gotham Cenobites. I'm Terry.
I'm Lindsay.
And this is another movie review. And this one is the second of the 4 Candymans. This is Candyman Farewell to the Flesh from 1995.
This story takes place in New Orleans. It is basically how the urban legend came to be.
Yes, we see a deep dive into Candyman's backstory and how his bloodline is still
Carries on.
living on. So the story begins with us seeing the only other returning face besides Candyman, the professor from the first movie, Philip. He's given sort of a lecture or a
book tour.
Book signing. And he's talking about the history of Candyman. And
yeah, his book was even like he made it into like a mirror pretty much. He's really full of himself, really enjoying the whole signing. The crowd's like really digging him. And I mean, he's enjoying it so much so he even like looks into the mirror, the book, and he says Candyman 5 times.
So, I mean, after the crowd dies down, he's walking the streets of New Orleans. That's when we he's confronted by the first, I guess, main character or the family in this movie. What's his name? Was Paul?
I think so.
And he's, first he gets him to sign the book, and Philip is even more into himself, and then finally Paul says something that clicks with him, references his father.
And his passing.
Right, and how Philip clearly doesn't really believe in Candyman, but encouraged his father to say his name. And so they kind of get into a spat, and it leads into a bar.
A big brawl.
And so in front of all these witnesses, of course he gets kicked out of the bar, and Philip goes into the bathroom to kind of dust himself off. And that's when Candyman appears and finishes him off. Okay, so then we're introduced to Annie, who is our main character, and very quickly we find out that Paul is now in prison, or jail, for murder, and apparently it's her brother, and he's on the hook for Philip's murder because, like I said, all the witnesses. And I guess there's been, I think, 4 or 5 others that he's being investigated for now that are similar killings. But Annie is a teacher, and she teaches a class in New Orleans, and she has a student named Matthew.
Yeah, she herself is also an artist.
Yeah. But so she teaches an art class. She has this one student, Matthew, who is drawing Candyman and like visions of Candyman and of his death.
We find out he's having nightmares. He's pretty much being haunted by the story.
Right. So there's a little tussle in her classroom of the kids kind of not being comfortable, I guess, with Matthew drawing all this crap. So I guess to try to calm the class down, she
trying to prove that it's not real.
Looks into the mirror and says his name 5 times, and then Annie must be another chosen one, because once again, he doesn't appear, do anything until later that night. And so she's at home, and then we see Candyman appear, and the first victim is Annie's boyfriend, and she's having visions all the next day when she's staying with her mom. And that's when she finally puts it
like
together.
of the past, just old.
Of Candyman.
Yeah, Candyman's past.
She finally puts it together that there's a connection with her brother. So she goes and talks to him, and she finally gets something out of him about Dad and about his obsession with Candyman.
Yeah, that's when she says like, "I'm gonna find out."
So I don't remember how, but she finds out about this black market art dealer.
The brother.
He actually does tell her.
He tells her when during one of the she was visiting him.
Okay. So she goes to this black market art dealer, and of course, once again, the father's name dropped. So he brings her into the back, and it's here where we see this whole, like, I would say it's probably the original painting.
I think so, of Caroline.
Candyman did with Caroline. So he gives her another backstory.
Yes, in case we didn't mention, Candyman was an artist too. I know that was referenced briefly in the first film.
Yeah, he was commissioned to draw
Caroline, and that's how they fell in love.
Paint Caroline.
So just
by her father. So we see the original painting, and in the painting she's holding the mirror, and you see him in the mirror painting her. So he pretty much talks to Annie about this mirror and how it supposedly holds the soul of the Candyman. And so I immediately had the idea that Candyman, we saw him die in a big blaze of fire. He's dead, but he had a Horcrux.
Right. Yes.
So this mirror in New Orleans holds his soul, or his power. But it's here, I guess Candyman, because she said his name, so he's around. He has had enough, so he appears, covers the art dealer in bees, eventually throwing him through the wall and killing the art dealer.
Okay, so the art dealer is now dead. Meanwhile, we find out that the detectives have been following her for a while, and because they heard all the commotion, the art dealer has passed.
Really bad detectives.
Yeah, especially this particular one. He's awful. And they're chasing Annie, so they're framing her now as like thinking that she's Candyman. She's been Candyman this whole time.
Well, yeah, they kind of come in, and when dude gets thrown through the wall, I mean, the detectives are right there and happen to be there to see the body come through the wall.
Right.
So, we cut to her running back to her mom's house. Just kind of safe cover. And then it's here where we're jumped back to the same, I call him the shite detective, is interrogating and antagonizing Paul, the brother, because he's in jail, so he can't go nowhere. So he's saying, now, you're out, pretty much you're out, and these murders are still happening, so we're onto your plan, you're covering for your sister, she's the one doing all these killings.
Just way over the top.
He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think he says at one point, it's him. So the detective, very full of himself, it's like, okay, it's him, so we'll call him. So he throws him up against, the mirror in the interrogation room, and says Candyman 5 times, and then immediately he's spitting blood up and just gets strung up and thrown out the window, because I guess it's a 2-story police station, and so
he lands on like a desk down below.
I mean, it's just over the top. So I mean, he got thrown over the top.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so then we go back to Annie's mom's house, and somehow the other detective, because there's another detective, it's a woman. Those are the partners, and her and the cops are already there. So Annie has to kind of sneak in, and it's kind of hinted at the whole movie that her mom has like this secret chest, and in the beginning,
just a drawer.
You see Annie scene where she hides the key. So she kind of gets suspicious after her dad's obsessed with Caroline and is obsessed with this Candyman thing. So she goes and looks in her mom's secret stash, and she finds a picture of Caroline and her daughter, Candyman's daughter, Isabel. And that's when she confronts her mother, and it's here we find out that not only Candyman was born here, he was born in her house, but Isabel and Caroline, after he was murdered, actually came back and lived here. And of course, throughout the history, bloodline continued. So we find out her mom and Annie are actually direct blood descendants to Candyman.
Yes.
And then, of course, her mom's trying to deny it. And I can't remember the line she says to her mom.
No, I can't remember either.
Can't hide him. I don't know. But so Candyman appears, and my child, you doubted me, and he kills her. Well, he mortally wounds the mother, and then Annie's having a conversation with Candyman, and that's when her mom hits the alarm, and so the cops rush in. So once again, Annie's
on the run.
Really quick. It's like, alright, I'm just gonna leave, and goes out the back door again, and that's when the woman detective...
Female detective, yeah.
Meets her in the stairway and says, I saw the security video, and we kind of see it, her watching it, and the dude is just lifted up magically, and you see his back just split open.
You don't even see the hook or anything. He's literally just elevated.
So she knows that there's something otherworldly going on here. I believe you.
And lets her go.
So it's from here that we're led. Annie runs back to the house they grew up in. It's the house Candyman was born in, and it's another little shrine to Candyman. But I think one thing we forgot to mention is right after Annie said Candyman 5 times, the Matthew kid was so, I guess, scared or nervous that he just went missing. But when she gets back to the house at this point in the movie, Matthew's there.
He's there.
Saying, I have to see it. Just because there's really no explanation as to how he is seeing all this stuff, all these visions. But he has to know, he has to see it.
He wants to see Candyman.
And it's through them talking at this point that Annie looks out the window, and there's an old slave quarters on the property, and that's when I guess it clicks to her. That's probably where the mirror is. So they both go investigate the slave quarters together, and they end up finding the Horcrux. And of course Candyman appears and tries to stop it. There's a small little fight, but she ends up... this is where he actually says, "Be my witness," and grabs her arm. And this is where, instead of seeing all these jump cuts throughout the whole movie, we see the entire thing happen. And we see that not only did all these men do this thing, but there's just all these women and children watching, laughing. And it's here a little boy takes a bite of honey and actually gives it the name Candyman.
So degrading and sad.
And another woman screams "Sweets to the sweet," so that's where that's coming from. But
which that is graffitied in this film, in both movies, and the first movie too.
But it's here. Caroline finally comes and just sees everything going on, and that's when her father gets the mirror and makes him look at himself, and he says Candyman, and you can that's when he dies, and she gets the mirror, runs away, and that's when you see him. He's in the mirror.
He's in it.
So that's kind of locking in the Horcrux. So then we're fast forwarded back to the slave quarter fight, and she's very hesitant, but at the end of the day, fight or flight, she breaks the mirror, and that's when Candyman just kind of shatters like the mirror does, and then the house kind of all Wizard of Oz style is just spin around
and washes away.
Yeah, and that's how it is.
Because it's partly in like a
it's
like
raining
river.
this whole time, so it kind of just it's on river and gets
washed away.
It's gone. Okay. So, I want to hear your first thoughts, because I always thought this was my favorite one, but I'm seeing it this time. It's not horrible, it's just not as good as I remembered, I guess.
I agree with that. It definitely is not as good as I remember.
No.
I never saw the first one as much as you did, so I agree. I think the story, I like this story. As much as I complained about it was slightly butchered, there's like holes in that story.
I do have to say too, because this is the first time we actually watched the movie one night, brainstormed, and then, so 3 different nights, now we're filming this. But, us talking through it, I mean,
I liked it more talking through it.
Talking about it, I actually feel like the movie, I like it a little better now after discussing it.
Yeah.
But,
There's just little things I didn't really care about the movie. Like, can we get into that?
yeah, like, I don't know.
There all the, like, there was too many jump cuts, I felt like, or jump scares.
I mean, in the beginning where her and her boyfriend are exploring the house she grew up in, I counted like 4 jump scares in like 10 minutes. So like the whole first 30 minutes is just them trying to fuck with you.
Maybe that was a thing, though. I don't know.
Of course it was a thing.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking about 80 and 90s. Yeah, jump scares were the tits.
Right.
But I mean, the 1995 CGI definitely.
Yeah, I mean, take it for what it is. It was 1995. They did the best they could, I'm sure.
Yeah. But
You brought. Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
the acting in this one, like I was saying, I mean, I feel like there was only really one bad actor in the first movie, and there's probably only really 2 or 3 good actors in this one. I mean, it was over the top. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But the one thing I really didn't care for was the Kingfish. I mean, it was just this New Orleans voice narrating the whole thing, and not all the time was the shit he was saying had anything.
Just talking about Mardi Gras and just the history, and he mentioned Candyman a couple times. It was like it was filler instead of like where you would have music and story play. It was this guy.
And I mean, if you just heard him 2 or 3 times, it would have been fine.
I would not have pictured a fat white man.
We heard him a lot. Like, he probably talks 6 times.
Yeah.
And then, at the end, I mean, I was expecting it to be this old black guy like DJ, but no, it was a very big white man. I just didn't see that guy coming.
I felt like some of the accents were really not authentic.
But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I guess that, what about the outfits?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
for Tony Todd.
Yeah,
Candyman.
Candyman's outfit, I mean, the statue I'm buying from PCS is licensed under this movie, but that is not his outfit. His outfit totally changed, and if anything, his coat, to me, kind of looked like the coat from, what was that? I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Oh, yes.
Coincidentally, like the raincoat.
That fisherman trench type.
He had a hook, too.
Yeah, that's so true.
But that's what this jacket looked like to me. I mean, it was just, I mean, thank God the statue is from the first movie, but it's licensed under this movie.
Yeah.
Which, that's fine. I mean, I did not care for the Candyman look in this one.
I don't think it was terrible, but I do like the first one more.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's just, I'm just glad the statue is his look from the first movie.
Yeah.
But,
I feel like there was a little less confusion as far as, like in the first one, it was like, is he flesh? Is he real? Like, in this one, I felt he was, you could definitely tell he was more very crow-like spirit. Like, he's he's not alive, but he's not dead.
It was a better overall story.
I agree.
With his bloodline tying into it, and I know I've said it, the fucking Horcrux. A way to actually kill him. I
like that they did that. I like that they did show the origin of the story and that there is a bloodline. I thought, I mean, if you're going to take an urban legend and try to dissect it, of course you want to know the history.
Which, we didn't really touch on that. I think we talked enough about the story, but the movie does end, Annie was pregnant. So
yes.
Right before Candyman killed her boyfriend, they kind of were intimate.
Mm-hmm.
So she was
pregnant.
Conceived
a child.
Yeah, so she was pregnant, and so Annie's kind of embracing
the family history,
right? And named her daughter Caroline. So I mean, she's showing her daughter the photo albums, and she's naming off everybody. So clearly, Annie is keeping the family legend alive, I guess.
Yeah, minus the killing.
I guess we can get into that now.
Okay.
We haven't seen the remake yet. But what I thought about watching this movie is if you were going to do a remake, I don't think you should try hard to tie it in with these movies. But I would have loved personally to seen a year after he's dead, to have Candyman come back and one by one methodically kill every motherfucker who was there who watched him die.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen that be the remake of Candyman. I know it's not.
Caroline's father, all that. Yeah.
I would have loved to see him kill all of them. Another big plot hole, in my opinion, and if you hadn't seen the first one, you would totally have missed it and been none the wiser. But in the first movie, Philip definitely references that he was killed in Cabrini Green, which is in Chicago.
Yes.
But somehow everything leads back to New Orleans in this movie.
You and I had to really talk about that last night to figure that out.
And the only thing I can think of is he was born a slave, but somehow got freed or something, and went up north, and he's a painter, and that's how he kind of made a name for himself and was commissioned and then killed in Chicago. Because they do say that Caroline and Isabel moved here because he was born here, so it's just funny when you're trying to tie these movies together.
They leave some pretty key.
He died over here, but everybody here knows who he is more than they did.
Yeah, the whole town, so that the Kingfish guy, he saw, like I said, he mentioned Candyman. It's not just it's the whole collective. It seems like. That are very aware of the story.
But again, you could definitely start here and not have had to have seen the first one.
True.
And we're probably only confused because we just watched 1 and 2, but that's a little bit confusing, I think. Trying to tie them together. And
trying to tie Cabrini Green.
Was he killed up here, but then he was born
here and then somehow moved to Chicago.
It's clear though that Caroline.
Or maybe daughter, he was just commissioned. I mean, that's all they mentioned. He was commissioned, so...
Yeah. I mean, he could have just went up there just for this
For that. Well, because, let's just think about that. It's not like a photograph. Painting takes time, so he probably had to move up there and live. You know what I mean? And then when the job was done, he would come back. I don't know. Just...
Yeah. Alright. So, Candyman, farewell to the flesh. What we rating?
I'm giving this one another 3.
Another 3.
There's little issues with both.
I don't know. Now that we've discussed it, I definitely like the story of this one more, but to me, I like the first one better, but this one is still okay. So I think I'm good giving them both the same rating.
Yeah.
So, I guess this one's going to get 3 hooks again. And we're going to try to be methodical with that. I'm not going to do half hooks. It's going to be...
Right.
So this one gets a 3. And, the third one's up next. And I've never seen it. And I'll tell you the story as to why when we get to that movie. But it doesn't look fun.
I didn't even know there were 3.
It doesn't look fun at all. And been talking to a friend in my statue community, Piggy.
Oh, mention.
And he's already warned me that the movie's budget was $12, so it's not going to be very good.
Jeez.
I'm like, I know. I've seen the trailer, and it just looks god awful. But I told her, I guess, Piggy's comment on our first review. And it kind of made sense to me. Because the first one, you kind of like, why Helen? Why baby Anthony? And
why was he so obsessed?
It said Helen was just remind him of his wife, so he wanted to be with her. And that we find out in this one for sure that Caroline was pregnant, so he wanted Anthony. So he wanted basically the wife and the kid he never had. So. Yeah.
He didn't want to be alone for eternity.
And that's kind of... I was asking her too. I was like, "What's his end game? What does he want Annie for in this one? What would he have done if she'd have went with him?"
He didn't want to be alone.
And I guess it's just not to be alone.
Yeah.
And she was also pregnant. So, But yeah, so anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Well, we appreciate you guys watching. 3 and the remake are coming soon, so if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to stick around for those. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Peace. So what's up, everybody? Did you hit that subscribe button? Why not? We're giving away these 5 books. I'm about to put over my face. We're giving away all 5 of these books. The 4 of the metal books put up by me. The 5th, the Batman Who Laughs book, put up by the very kind and gracious Steve over at Casual Nerd Problems. And not only did he come in clutch with this 5th book, the Batman Who Laughs, that immediately picks up after the metal event, but he also went out and got it signed, here you see, by Scott Snyder. Big thank you to you, Steve. Thank you so much for always being there. Thank you so much for supporting me as much as you have. It is awesome that you gave up that book signed for this giveaway. So stick around, like this video, subscribe, and we're gonna go live once we hit 500 subscribers on both channels, here at Gotham Cinebites and over at Casual Nerd Problems. So subscribe to both, that way you have double the notifications whenever that video does go live. As always, I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate everybody who subscribes. You might as well get you all 5 of these books. So yeah, thank you so much. Stick around for that giveaway.